What if the very people who are supposed to love you most are slowly, subtly stealing your love for life? It's a question that strikes at the heart of our deepest societal beliefs, a challenge to the comforting narrative that family bonds are inherently nurturing, always benevolent. We're taught to honor our parents, cherish our siblings, and believe that family is our unshakable foundation. But for millions of Americans, that foundation isn't just shaky. It's actively eroding their sense of self, their joy, and their very purpose. It's a silent epidemic, often hidden behind closed doors and polite smiles at holiday gatherings. Consider this unsettling truth. Experts suggest that a significant percentage of the population exhibits narcissistic traits, and a substantial portion of those exist within family units. The long-term psychological impact on those around them is staggering, leading to chronic anxiety, depression, a pervasive sense of inadequacy, and a profound struggle to find genuine happiness. This isn't just about a difficult relative, it's about a systematic, often invisible, dismantling of your inner world. For individuals like Alex, navigating these dynamics with family members like Evelyn and Robert isn't just challenging, it's a constant battle for their own emotional survival. Imagine the seemingly harmless comments, the subtle manipulations, the constant criticisms that chip away at your self-worth, piece by agonizing piece. Evelyn, with her masterful use of guilt and passive aggression, might say, "Oh, Alex, that's a sweet dream you have, but are you sure you're being realistic? You know how much we worry about your future. Your cousin, well, she's already bought her second home, but we just want you to be happy, dear." It sounds like concern, doesn't it? But beneath the veneer, it's a calculated strike, designed to plant seeds of doubt, to make Alex question their ambitions, their capabilities, and their very right to pursue a different path. These words echo through the halls of the family home, tainting every memory, every interaction. Then there's Robert, often more overt, more dismissive. "Alex, are you still wasting your time on that project? When I was your age, I was building a real career, making substantial contributions. You need to focus on something tangible, something with actual value, not these fanciful notions." His grandiosity casts a long shadow, trivializing Alex's achievements, dismissing their feelings as irrelevant, and subtly asserting his own superiority. These aren't isolated incidents. They are recurring patterns woven into the fabric of family life, particularly amplified during holiday gatherings, where the pressure to conform and maintain appearances is at its peak. Each interaction, each seemingly casual remark, is a tiny cut, slowly bleeding Alex of their confidence, their passion, and their inherent joy. Over time, these insidious behaviors create a profound internal struggle for Alex. The constant questioning, the feeling of never being good enough, the pervasive sense that their worth is conditional upon meeting Evelyn and Robert's ever-shifting, impossible standards. Alex often retreats to Alex's personal sanctuary, not just for quiet, but to painstakingly piece back together the fragmented sense of self, to try and decipher what is real and what is merely a projection of their family members' insecurities. It's an exhausting, lonely battle fought against invisible enemies that wear the faces of loved ones. The world outside promises freedom, opportunity, and self-expression, yet within the confines of family, Alex feels trapped, suffocated by expectations and criticisms that steal the very zest for life. The vibrant colors of their world seem to fade, replaced by a dull, muted gray. But what if there was a way to break free from this silent sabotage? What if you could not only recognize these destructive dynamics, but also develop a powerful internal framework to dismantle their hold on your spirit? We're not talking about simply cutting ties, though that may be a necessary step for some. We're talking about a fundamental shift in perspective, a revolutionary approach rooted in practical existentialism. This isn't about wallowing in despair or philosophical abstractions. This is about real-world strategies that empower you to reclaim your personal sovereignty, to define your own meaning, your own values, and your own happiness, independent of anyone else's approval, especially those who seek to control you. This framework will expose the manipulative tactics of narcissistic family members like Evelyn and Robert, not as personal failings on your part, but as predictable patterns of behavior that can be understood and navigated. It will offer you the tools to establish firm boundaries, to protect your emotional energy, and to cultivate an unshakable sense of self-worth that no external criticism can penetrate. You will learn to see through the fog of guilt and manipulation, to recognize the subtle ways your love for life has been siphoned away, and most importantly, how to reclaim it, stronger and more vibrant than ever before. This journey isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving, about rediscovering a profound, authentic love for life that is entirely your own. It will fundamentally change your perspective on family relationships and your personal agency. You don't have to let anyone dictate your happiness or define your worth. Are you ready to truly see these patterns in your own life, to understand the subtle ways they've impacted you, and to discover the power you already possess to reclaim your joy? If that question resonates deep within you, if a quiet voice whispers yes from a place you've long suppressed, then you already know the insidious grip of these dynamics. Perhaps you recognize the subtle shift in your stomach when Evelyn walks into the room, or the involuntary bracing of your shoulders whenever Robert begins to speak. These are not isolated incidents. They are the threads of a meticulously woven tapestry of emotional manipulation designed to keep you tethered, questioning your own reality and worth. Consider the classic dance of gaslighting, a specialty of Evelyn's. You might recall a heated discussion, perhaps about a past event, where you remember the facts with crystal clarity. You bring it up trying to address a lingering hurt, only for Evelyn to tilt her head, a soft, almost pitying look in her eyes, and say, "Oh, Alex, you always exaggerate. That's not how it happened at all. You must be misremembering." Or, "I never said that. Why would you even think that? You're imagining things." Suddenly, the solid ground beneath your feet dissolves. You question your own memory, your sanity, replaying the conversation in your head, wondering if you are indeed the one distorting reality. It's a disorienting, maddening experience that leaves you feeling adrift, unsure of what is true and what is a fabrication. This isn't just a disagreement, it's an assault on your cognitive foundations, a deliberate attempt to undermine your perception of the world and your place within it. The family home, once a symbol of comfort, becomes a stage for these psychological dramas, where every conversation is a potential minefield. Then there's Robert, whose weapon of choice is often disguised as helpful advice or constructive criticism. You might be excited about a new career opportunity, a promotion you've worked tirelessly for, or even just a new hobby you're passionate about. You share your news with genuine enthusiasm, hoping for support, for a simple, "I'm proud of you." Instead, Robert listens, nods slowly, and then, with a sigh that suggests deep wisdom, offers, "That's nice, Alex, but have you really thought about the long-term prospects? It sounds a bit risky to me. You know your cousin Mark, he went into tech, much more stable. Are you sure you're making the right choice?" Or perhaps after you finally found a partner who makes you genuinely happy, Robert subtly dissects their flaws, pointing out every perceived imperfection, always ending with, "I just want what's best for you, Alex. I'm just looking out for you." It's a relentless chipping away at your confidence, a constant insinuation that your choices are flawed, your judgment suspect, and your achievements never quite good enough. This isn't guidance, it's control, a pervasive force that keeps you perpetually second-guessing yourself, making you feel perpetually inadequate. These interactions amplify during holiday gatherings, turning what should be times of joy and connection into high-stakes performances. The tension is palpable as you walk through the door of the family home, every greeting a potential trap, every casual question a loaded inquiry. You find yourself walking on eggshells, meticulously choosing your words, censoring your true feelings, and desperately trying to anticipate and avoid the next critical remark from Robert or the subtle put-down from Evelyn. The laughter feels hollow, the forced smiles ache, and the festive decorations seem to mock the knot of anxiety tightening in your chest. You might spend the entire Thanksgiving dinner mentally rehearsing responses, deflecting veiled insults, and trying to steer conversations away from anything that could invite judgment. By the time you leave, you're not filled with holiday cheer, but utterly drained, exhausted from the emotional labor of self-preservation. The most insidious part of these dynamics is the good intentions facade. Evelyn and Robert rarely present themselves as villains. Instead, they frame their behaviors as acts of love, concern, or wisdom. "I'm only telling you this because I care," Evelyn might say, after a particularly cutting remark. "I'm just being honest with you, Alex, because no one else will," Robert might offer, after tearing down your latest accomplishment. This makes it incredibly difficult to identify the abuse for what it is. You're taught, often from childhood, to respect your elders, to prioritize family loyalty, and to believe that criticism from loved ones comes from a place of genuine care. This internal conflict leads to immense self-blame and confusion. You wonder if you are the problem, if you are too sensitive, too ungrateful, or simply misunderstanding their love. The narrative they craft is so convincing that you internalize it, becoming your own harshest critic, perpetuating the cycle of self-doubt long after they've left the room. The cumulative effect of living under this constant scrutiny and manipulation leaves you feeling hollowed out, anxious, and profoundly disconnected from your true self. The vibrant, joyful person you know you are, or once were, seems to recede further and further, replaced by a guarded, weary replica. After a particularly challenging encounter, you often find yourself retreating to your personal sanctuary, whether it's a quiet corner of your apartment, a long drive with music blasting, or simply the solace of your own thoughts, desperately trying to piece yourself back together. It's here, in this sacred space, that you wrestle with the central conflict, the deeply ingrained loyalty to family, the societal expectation to maintain those bonds, battling against the urgent primal need for self-preservation. You feel torn, guilty for even considering distancing yourself, yet suffocated by the very relationships you're supposed to cherish. If any of this resonates, if you've felt this crushing weight, this profound confusion, know this: you are not alone. Your pain is valid, your feelings are justified, you haven't imagined it, and you are not too sensitive. What you've experienced is real, and the toll it has taken on your spirit is immense. But here's the crucial turning point. Recognizing these patterns is the first, most powerful step towards reclaiming your life. It's about seeing the matrix for what it is, rather than being trapped within its illusions. And while this understanding might feel heavy right now, it also opens the door to an ancient, powerful philosophy, a framework that offers not just understanding, but practical tools to navigate this complex terrain, to rebuild your inner world, and to rediscover an unshakable love for life, irrespective of the storms swirling around you. This journey begins not with just understanding, but with a profound internal shift, a moment we call the existential awakening. It's the critical first step towards reclaiming your personal sovereignty, pulling back the reins of your life from the hands of those who've sought to control it. Like Evelyn and Robert, forget the old-school, bleak image of existentialism, the one that conjures up images of gloomy philosophers in smoky Parisian cafes. Instead, embrace practical existentialism, a robust toolkit designed for radical self-responsibility and the deliberate act of meaning-making, even when you're navigating the absurd, often frustrating terrain of challenging family dynamics. We're not talking about a philosophy that whispers about the meaninglessness of existence. We're talking about one that shouts about the incredible power you possess to create meaning, to forge your own path, regardless of the hand you were dealt. Think of it like this. You didn't get to pick your family, just like you didn't get to choose your first name or the city you were born in. That's the unchosen bond, a given, a fact of your existence. But here's the game changer, the truth that will fundamentally alter your perspective. You absolutely, unequivocally choose how you respond to them. You choose the meaning you assign to your experiences, and you choose the life you build around and despite them. This is the chosen path. Imagine Alex, for years, feeling trapped within the gravitational pull of the family home. Every holiday gathering a minefield, every interaction with Evelyn a tightrope walk over guilt trips and passive-aggressive remarks, every conversation with Robert a gauntlet of dismissive criticism. Alex felt like a character in a play, written by others. Their lines dictated, their actions choreographed to suit Evelyn's need for control or Robert's inflated ego. The joy, the passion, the authentic self that Alex knew deep down was slowly being suffocated, relegated to Alex's personal sanctuary, a place of quiet retreat rather than vibrant living. But then came the awakening. It wasn't a sudden bolt of lightning, but a slow, dawning realization, spurred by countless moments of frustration and a deep yearning for something more. Alex began to understand that while Evelyn and Robert might be permanent fixtures in their genetic lineage, they were not, and could not be, the architects of Alex's internal world. This is where the wisdom of an existential giant like Jean-Paul Sartre rings with a clarity that cuts through the fog of family obligation. Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. Condemned? That sounds harsh, right? But flip it. It means you are unconditionally free. Free from the tyranny of Evelyn's manipulative sighs, free from the weight of Robert's condescending remarks. You are responsible for your choices, your values, your happiness. This isn't a burden, it's the ultimate liberation. It's the realization that while you didn't choose your family, you are the sole designer of your destiny. Their expectations, their judgments, their attempts to define you, they hold no real power unless you grant it to them. Alex started small, with deliberate, almost imperceptible choices. One Thanksgiving, usually a dreaded ordeal at the family home, Alex decided to arrive an hour late, not to make a statement, but because they genuinely wanted to finish a book they were enjoying. Evelyn, of course, made a pointed comment about Alex's tardiness, her voice dripping with disappointment. In the past, Alex would have felt a wave of crushing guilt, apologizing profusely. This time, Alex simply smiled. "I was really enjoying my book, Evelyn. It was worth it." No apology, no explanation, just a quiet assertion of a personal boundary. It was a tiny ripple, but for Alex, it felt like a tidal wave of self-reclamation. Another time, Robert scoffed at Alex's new hobby, woodworking, calling it a waste of time compared to a real career. Instead of shrinking, Alex thought of Sartre. Alex was free. Robert's opinion was just that. An opinion, not a universal truth. Alex simply replied, "It brings me a lot of joy, Robert. That's enough for me." The conversation ended there, the usual argument diffused, not by capitulation, but by a quiet, unyielding self-acceptance. These were not acts of defiance for defiance's sake, but acts of alignment, small choices that echoed Alex's authentic self, rather than succumbing to the relentless pressure of family expectations. This isn't about cutting ties entirely, not necessarily, though that might be a chosen path for some. This is about establishing an internal fortress, a personal sovereignty that no external force, no matter how familiar or seemingly powerful, can breach without your consent. It's about understanding that your peace is not negotiable, your purpose is yours to define, and your love for life is an inner flame that only you can tend. From this day forward, let these words resonate deep within your core, a powerful affirmation of your newfound freedom and responsibility. I choose my peace, my purpose, my life from this day forward. This isn't just a mantra. It's a declaration of independence, a blueprint for a life lived on your terms. But how do you translate this profound existential truth into everyday actions when Evelyn is calling or Robert is sending another critical text message? The real work, the practical strategies for dealing with these difficult family members, begins now, built upon this unshakable existential foundation. The foundation has been laid, but now comes the true test, the moment where abstract understanding transforms into concrete action, where your strategic mind takes the reins. You've grasped the existential truth that your life's meaning is yours to forge, regardless of the toxicity swirling around you at the family home or during those fraught holiday gatherings. Now it's time to equip Alex, and by extension you, with the psychological armor and tactical maneuvers necessary to navigate the emotional minefield set by Evelyn and Robert. This isn't about escaping, it's about mastering the battlefield of your own mind and interactions. The first principle, a cornerstone of psychological resilience, is the art of strategic detachment. Understand this, it's not about cutting off your family entirely, not about abandoning all connection. That's often a false choice, a knee-jerk reaction that can bring its own set of problems. Instead, strategic detachment is about creating an emotional firewall, a psychological distance that protects your inner world, your most sacred thoughts and feelings, from the corrosive influence of narcissistic behavior. Think of it like a seasoned pro athlete maintaining focus amidst the roar of the crowd or the taunts of an opponent. They hear it, they acknowledge it, but they don't let it derail their performance. They don't internalize the noise. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously declared, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This isn't just a quaint saying, it's a battle plan for dealing with Evelyn's subtle manipulations or Robert's overt criticisms. When Evelyn launches into a passive-aggressive monologue at the family home, dripping with guilt about some perceived slight, Alex learns to observe it, not absorb it. It's like watching a storm from a cozy, well-insulated room. You see the lightning, you hear the thunder, but you are safe, untouched. Alex practices mentally stepping back, becoming an objective observer of Evelyn's performance. They can acknowledge the words, perhaps even nod, but their internal state remains undisturbed. The emotional hook, the one Evelyn desperately tries to sink into Alex, simply slides off. During holiday gatherings, when Robert inevitably dismisses Alex's achievements or makes a cutting remark about their life choices, the old Alex would have felt a familiar knot of shame or anger. The new Alex, armed with strategic detachment, recognizes Robert's words as a projection of his insecurities, a desperate attempt to assert control. It's not about Alex, it's about Robert. Instead of engaging in a futile debate or feeling the sting of the insult, Alex can simply acknowledge the comment with a neutral, "I hear you," or a non-committal, "interesting perspective," then pivot the conversation or mentally drift to their personal sanctuary. They don't need to justify, explain, or defend. They don't need to win an argument that was never about truth, but about power. Most people get sucked into the drama, exhausting themselves in endless cycles of argument and hurt, trying to reason with the unreasonable. You, like Alex, will conserve your precious energy and peace, channeling it towards building the life you truly desire. This isn't apathy, it's a strategic withdrawal, a preservation of self. This leads us to the second principle, equally vital in reclaiming your personal sovereignty: the power of your no. In a world where many are conditioned to prioritize others' feelings, especially those of family, saying no can feel like an act of rebellion, even sacrilege. But understand this, your no is not merely a refusal, it is a declaration of your boundaries, a shield against emotional exploitation, and a statement of self-respect. It defines your personal space, your time, and your emotional capacity. Niccolò Machiavelli, the master strategist, once wrote, "He who desires to be obeyed must know how to command." While often interpreted in a political context, its essence applies profoundly to personal boundaries. To command respect for your limits, you must first command yourself to set them and then enforce them with unwavering resolve. Your no is the command. Alex learns this power not as an act of aggression, but as an act of self-preservation. Consider the practical applications for Alex. Evelyn might extend an invitation to a holiday gathering at the family home that Alex knows will be emotionally draining, a guaranteed gauntlet of passive aggression and guilt. The old Alex would have reluctantly said yes, then spent days dreading it and recovering afterward. The new Alex, however, politely but firmly declines, perhaps offering an alternative that suits their emotional bandwidth, or simply stating, "I won't be able to make it this time." No lengthy explanations, no apologies that invite further manipulation. The no is complete in itself. Or imagine Robert during a phone call veering into his usual territory of criticism, dissecting Alex's career choices or relationship status. Alex now possesses the power to say calmly and clearly, "Robert, I'm not going to discuss that topic." If Robert persists, Alex might issue a warning. "If you continue down this path, I'm going to end the call." And if he still doesn't respect the boundary, Alex follows through. The phone call ends. This isn't rude, it's defining your personal space and time, protecting your emotional well-being within Alex's personal sanctuary. Most people fear upsetting family, leading to years of resentment and feeling like a doormat. You will use your no as a powerful, non-negotiable shield. Repeat this mini affirmation to yourself. Let it sink into your bones. My boundaries are sacred. My no is a declaration of self-respect. This isn't just a phrase. It's a commitment to yourself, a promise to honor your inner world. Understanding these two principles, strategic detachment and the power of your no, is the crucial first step. But what happens when Evelyn and Robert, accustomed to their power over Alex, encounter these new, firm boundaries? They won't simply roll over, they will escalate. To truly master this dynamic, you must first understand the enemy's tactics, anticipate their moves, and prepare your countermeasures. The path to true liberation began not with confrontation, but with quiet, strategic observation, a refined skill Alex painstakingly cultivated. This pivotal shift marked the embrace of Principle 3, decoding their playbook. You see, most people are caught in an endless loop, reacting to the emotional chaos their narcissistic family members unleash, perpetually on the defensive. But what if you could see the strings, understand the script, and anticipate the next act before it even begins? This is precisely the power Alex unlocked, moving beyond mere reaction to proactive understanding. The ancient wisdom of Sun Tzu echoes through the ages, resonating deeply with Alex's journey. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. This wasn't about winning in a traditional sense, but about winning back one's peace, one's joy, one's very love for life. Alex began to meticulously study Evelyn and Robert, not with anger, but with a detached, almost scientific curiosity. They realized that narcissistic behaviors, while devastating, are often remarkably predictable, following a well-worn playbook. Gaslighting, for instance, became a tactic Alex could spot from a mile away. One Thanksgiving dinner at the family home, Robert, with a practiced casualness, dismissed Alex's recent career achievement, claiming, "Oh, you always exaggerate your successes, Alex. It wasn't that big a deal. Remember that time you thought you aced that history exam in high school and then barely passed? The old Alex would have spiraled into self-doubt, replaying every past failure, questioning their own memory and worth. The new Alex, however, recognized the familiar pattern, an attempt to undermine their reality, to make them question their own perceptions and achievements. Instead of getting defensive, Alex simply smiled, a genuine, unforced smile. "That's an interesting take, Robert," Alex responded calmly. "But my company seems to think it was a pretty significant accomplishment. And my memory of that exam is quite clear, thanks." So, the gaslighting attempt, stripped of its power by recognition, simply fizzled out, leaving Robert momentarily disarmed, his usual bluster deflated. Then there was projection, a favorite maneuver of Evelyn's. Alex recalled countless instances where Evelyn would accuse them of being selfish or ungrateful, often after Evelyn herself had engaged in self-serving behavior. During a phone call, Evelyn might complain about Alex's supposed lack of familial devotion, saying, "You never think of anyone but yourself, Alex. It's always about what you want." Right after Alex had politely declined a last-minute inconvenient request from Evelyn that would have disrupted Alex's own carefully planned weekend. Instead of feeling the familiar pang of guilt, Alex now recognized Evelyn was projecting her own self-centeredness onto them. Evelyn couldn't acknowledge her own desires as unreasonable, so she cast Alex in the role of the unreasonable one. Alex learned to mentally label these moments. Projection, classic Evelyn. This mental labeling created a crucial emotional distance, preventing Evelyn's accusations from lodging themselves in Alex's psyche. Playing the victim was another common tactic. Evelyn would often recount exaggerated tales of woe, positioning herself as perpetually wronged, eliciting sympathy and manipulating others into catering to her demands. Robert, too, would often frame any negative consequence he faced as an unfair attack, never taking responsibility. Alex remembered a particularly tense holiday gathering where Evelyn dramatically recounted a minor disagreement with a neighbor, painting herself as an innocent bystander caught in a malicious plot. The family, accustomed to this performance, began to offer platitudes and sympathy. Alex, however, observed the subtle cues, the theatrical sighs, the carefully chosen words designed to evoke maximum pity. Alex didn't challenge the narrative directly, but also didn't offer the expected emotional validation. Instead, Alex steered the conversation towards a neutral topic, subtly shifting the focus away from Evelyn's victimhood, thereby denying her the emotional fuel she sought. And then there was the insidious cycle of love-bombing, followed by devaluation. Alex had experienced this countless times, a period of intense flattery and attention from Evelyn or Robert, making Alex feel cherished, only to be followed by a sudden, harsh criticism or dismissal that left Alex reeling and questioning their own worth. It was like a cruel roller coaster, designed to keep Alex off balance, constantly seeking that fleeting approval. By decoding this pattern, Alex understood that the love was conditional, a means to an end, a way to reel them back in before the next emotional blow. This understanding was a shield. When Evelyn would suddenly shower Alex with compliments after a period of intense criticism, the old Alex might have felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that things were finally changing. The new Alex, however, saw it for what it was, a tactic, a temporary reprieve before the next inevitable devaluation. This insight allowed Alex to remain grounded, to accept the compliments without investing emotionally in their sincerity, and to brace for the next shift without letting it shatter their inner peace. Alex had transformed from an unwitting participant in Evelyn and Robert's emotional dramas into a strategic observer. They weren't just experiencing the conflict, they were analyzing it, anticipating it, and disarming it by understanding its underlying mechanisms. This knowledge was power, not the power to change Evelyn or Robert, but the profound power to change Alex's own experience of them. The contrast was stark. Where most people found themselves entangled in the emotional nets cast by narcissists, manipulated and depleted, Alex was now soaring above the fray, observing the intricate patterns of the game without being consumed by it. They were learning to play a different game entirely, one where their own well-being was the ultimate prize. This strategic detachment paved the way for the next crucial step in Alex's journey. Principle 4. Cultivating your inner citadel. This principle, deeply rooted in Stoicism, was about building an unshakable inner core of resilience and self-worth, a fortress impervious to the external storms Evelyn and Robert so frequently brewed. Marcus Aurelius, the wise Roman emperor, articulated this profound truth centuries ago. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Alex realized that while they couldn't control Evelyn or Robert's words or actions, they absolutely could control their own interpretation of those words and the subsequent thoughts that shaped their inner world. Alex's personal sanctuary, once a mere physical space for retreat, evolved into a powerful internal landscape. It became a mental fortress, constructed brick by brick through conscious effort and deliberate practice. Daily reflection became a non-negotiable ritual. Each morning, Alex would dedicate time to quiet contemplation, reviewing the previous day's interactions, not to ruminate on negative experiences, but to identify triggers, analyze responses, and reinforce their new patterns of thought. They learned to ask themselves, what was within my control yesterday? What wasn't? How can I respond differently next time to protect my peace? Journaling became another cornerstone of this inner construction. Alex filled notebooks with their raw emotions, their observations of Evelyn and Robert's tactics, and their growing insights into their own resilience. Writing down their feelings provided an invaluable outlet, preventing bottled-up anger or sadness from festering. It was a way to process, to externalize, and then to constructively reframe their experiences. They would often write about a challenging interaction, then follow it with affirmations of their own worth and boundaries. For example, after a particularly draining holiday gathering where Robert had made several belittling comments, Alex would journal, "Robert's words reflect his own insecurities, not my reality. My worth is inherent and cannot be diminished by another's judgment. I choose to focus on my achievements and the love I receive from those who truly value me." Mindfulness, too, became a daily practice, grounding Alex amidst the external chaos. Whether it was a 5-minute meditation, focusing on their breath, or simply taking a moment to fully engage with the sensory details of a simple task like brewing a cup of coffee, these moments reconnected Alex to the present. They learned to observe their thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing them to pass like clouds in the sky rather than getting swept away by emotional turbulence. This practice was particularly powerful before or after interactions with Evelyn and Robert, helping Alex to remain centered and preventing their energy from being completely drained. Alex learned to filter external negativity with surgical precision. It wasn't about ignoring reality, but about consciously deciding what was allowed to penetrate their inner citadel. Critical remarks from Evelyn or Robert, once devastating blows, were now perceived as external noise, like the blare of a car horn on a busy street. Unpleasant, perhaps, but ultimately not something that could disrupt the calm within their home. Only constructive input, genuine kindness, and true connection were permitted to enter and resonate within their inner world. Alex realized that Evelyn and Robert's opinions were just that, opinions, and they held no intrinsic power unless Alex chose to grant them that power. This was a revolutionary shift. The contrast with most people's experiences was profound. While many allow their emotional state to be dictated by every external event, every fleeting comment, every mood swing of those around them, Alex was meticulously constructing an inner fortress, impervious to these external attacks. This fortress was not one of isolation, but one of self-possession, built on the bedrock of self-worth and self-respect. Alex no longer needed Evelyn or Robert's approval to feel good about themselves. Their happiness was an internal creation, not an external dependency. The mini-affirmation resonated deeply within Alex's core, becoming a guiding mantra. My mind is my fortress. I control what enters and what stays. As Alex continued this transformative journey, the shifts became undeniable, not just internally, but in their interactions. At the next major holiday gathering, Evelyn attempted her usual passive-aggressive guilt trip about Alex not visiting enough. Instead of stammering excuses, Alex calmly stated, "Evelyn, I understand you'd like to see me more, and I appreciate that. I'm doing my best to balance my responsibilities, and I always look forward to our time together when it works for everyone." The response was firm, but not confrontational, a clear boundary without an emotional hook. Evelyn, accustomed to a guilt-ridden reaction, seemed momentarily thrown off balance. Robert, too, found his usual critical jabs bouncing off Alex's newfound composure. When he tried to belittle Alex's hobbies, Alex simply responded, "I find a lot of joy in it, Robert. To each their own, right?" The dismissive tone, once a source of deep insecurity, now felt distant, like background noise. Alex realized that Robert's need to diminish others stemmed from his own internal struggles, not from any actual flaw in Alex. This understanding was profoundly liberating. Alex's love for life, once threatened by the constant emotional warfare, began to flourish anew. The world rediscovered its vibrant colors, the laughter felt more genuine, and the future, once clouded by apprehension, now shone with possibility. Alex had not eliminated Evelyn or Robert from their life, but had fundamentally changed the nature of their relationship. They were no longer victims, but sovereign individuals, navigating complex family dynamics with grace, strength, and an unwavering sense of self. They had reclaimed their joy, their purpose, and their inherent worth, demonstrating that even in the face of persistent narcissism, a profound and unshakable love for life is not just possible, but entirely within your grasp. It's about shifting the focus from their perception of you to your unwavering self-worth, a journey that begins and ends within your own powerful mind. If Alex's journey resonates with you, if you've ever felt trapped by family dynamics or yearned to reclaim your inner peace, then you know this isn't just a story, it's a roadmap. Take control of your narrative. Like this video, if you found value in these principles, subscribe for more insights into practical existentialism and strategic living, and tell us in the comments below, what's one step you're ready to take today to cultivate your inner citadel? Your journey to profound self-sovereignty starts now.